Thanks for visiting Christian Rewire channel. Has anyone ever pondered the biblical origin of the many peoples who call Europe home? If you are interested in learning more about the genealogy of Europeans, you should know that every European has a unique story of how they came to be. Now that you've seen the first video in our series about the Bible's account of human history, we invite you to watch another one about the origins of the white people, the Europeans, and how they came to be known as the Germanic people. Poland, Austria, Hungary, and Austrian, Italian, and French regions, Romania, and other countries. In chapter 10 of Genesis, the sacred scriptures list the names of the ancestral ancestors of certain European peoples. If you didn't know, these texts interpret themselves by looking at the symbolism that relates to the origins, regions, and countries of characters and peoples. In the case of Europeans, we see various mentions in the sacred scriptures, mostly pertaining to the Greeks and the Macedonians, who are direct descendants of one of the sons of Japheth. So, we can deduce who the ancestors of the Europeans are. Just as ancient genealogies, Jewish interpretations, other books, and the general opinion of ancient Semitic peoples all point to Japheth as the origin of the Europeans, since Javan, the son of Japheth, is believed to have been the ancestor of the Greeks. The names Japheth, which can signify either multiplication or a lovely pale expansion, appear in all these sources, and they all lead to the son of Noah. Aside from the biblical designation of Europeans as Japhethites or Jaffa peoples, the linguistic grouping that includes languages like English, German, Russian, Ukrainian, and a few others is known as the Japheth language family, after the progenitor of the European peoples. The sacred scriptures address the ancestors of European peoples in chapter 10 of the book of Genesis and also in the book of Chronicles. In them we find Japheth's lineage, his 7 sons and his grandsons through the names of Japheth's sons and grandsons. We can decipher the origins of ancient Europeans. In antiquity, the Israelites themselves called the European peoples Japhethites as well as Javanites, referring specifically to the region of Greece as Javanites or simply sons of Javan. In the book of Genesis we find the names of each of these children. From now on I will be mentioning the name of each one of them to all of you. These were the descendants of Japheth: Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras, and these were the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Rip, Hate, and Togarmah. These were the sons of Jav. This intriguing description from the Bible of the Ashkenazi as the progenitors of the Germanic peoples is something that Jews still talk about today. The Ashkenazi Jews call Germany and other Germanic regions Ashkenazic because that's who the Germans and all Germanic peoples descended from, according to ancient Jewish belief. Along with Ashkenaz, there's also a biblical figure called Rip Hate, who, according to ancient interpretations and the consensus of the Irish, are direct descendants of the Celtic peoples, is a direct ancestor of the Germanic peoples. It was determined that the Celtic peoples can be traced back to Rip Hatred, according to their research. The Celts can trace their lineage back to Rip Hate, who was the grandson of Japheth and the son of Gomorrah. Aryan or Iranian peoples who settled in the region of Iran are referred to as Madai in the Bible, who is interpreted as one of the sons of Japheth. The Celtic tribes that are spread out across Europe are direct descendants of Rip Hat, son of Gomer, and grandson of Japheth. Other sons of Japheth are also seen as European peoples or regions, or peoples genetically related to Europeans. NATO stands in for the biblically referred to Madites. Due to their shared roots, the Persians have noticed a resemblance between the names Mado and Madai. Countless ancient Persian peoples can trace their lineage back to Madai, son of Japheth, including the Nato-Persians, Parthians, and countless more. Madai was the ancestor of the Madtai tribes. One more name that stands out in Genesis 10 verse 2 is the makeup of the name. Additionally, we have Tubal and Meshech. Russians, Ukrainians, and other Slavic peoples trace their lineage back to Tubal and Meshech. These 3 biblical figures are the ancestors of the Slavic peoples. Experts in biblical genealogy agree that the nations of Russia and Ukraine are the homelands of Gomer and Magog, whose biblical ancestors are Tubal and Meshech. Understanding the apocalyptic prophecies found in the Old Testament books of Daniel, Ezekiel, Isaiah, and the book of Revelation requires knowledge of the names and genealogy of each of these peoples, including Magog. According to the Bible, the Slavic peoples can trace their lineage back to Jubal and Meshech. We have already found the ancestry of several groups of genetically linked Europeans, all of whom are white people in Europe. The Ashkenazis are the father of the Germanics, but it is vital not to mix the Germanic peoples with the Slavic peoples. Tarasis is another prominent figure in the Bible. His connection to the Etruscans gives rise to the belief that he is the progenitor of the Italian people. The Etruscans are one of the peoples who can be traced back to the ancient Italians. The ancient Romans, descendants of the Etruscans and other Javanite peoples, have an interesting curiosity about Javan, son of Japheth. Javan did not only give rise to Greek peoples, but also other peoples related to Greeks who were not Greeks, but had a connection with them. It is fascinating to note that the names of the sons of Japheth have linguistic similarities. Although there is differentiation due to Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic, these names bear a striking similarity with linguistic variations due to the event at Babel, where different languages originated due to the wickedness of men. According to biblical tradition, there is a story that describes the existence of a common language among all human beings known as the Edomite language. According to this narrative, this language would have been spoken by the first human beings, descendants of Adam and Eve. Currently, the world is characterized by a great linguistic diversity. There are thousands of different languages spoken across the planet, and many of them have their own history and evolution. An example of this is modern Greek, which is the language spoken in Greece today. Modern Greek is a variant of ancient Greek, which in turn has been spoken for thousands of years. Since classical antiquity, over the centuries, Greek has undergone transformations and changes in its structure and vocabulary, resulting in the form we know today. Among the children of Javan, we find the Lisa, identified as the ancestor of the Greek or Greek peoples. Elisha, grandson of Japheth and son of Javan, gave rise to the original Greeks. The similarity between Elisha and the word Hellenes is evident not only in English, but also in Hebrew and, of course, in the Greek language. Another son of Javan who arouses curiosity is Tarshish, mentioned several times in the sacred scriptures. Tarshish is the ancestral father of the Tartessians, the first inhabitants of the Iberian Peninsula. The Portuguese and Spaniards are descendants of Tarshish, although they have other Japheth ancestries, and in a mixture with Semitic peoples, they are originally considered to be descendants of Tarshish, the Tartessians. Some people believe that there was a transcription error and that the fourth son of Javan is actually Rodinum, or simply Dorinum, due to linguistic differences. Regardless, he is considered the ancestor of the Dardanoi, an ancient Trojan people. Tarshish is described as the son of Javan and grandson of Japheth. Another son of Javan, Kittim, is always associated with the island of Cyprus, so the Cypriots are descended from him. I could go on and on about the characters and their origins, citing stories and scriptures, but I'll save that for the next video in the series, which will focus on the origins of Asian peoples according to the Holy Scriptures. In a nutshell, Europeans are thought of as Japheth peoples because they are direct descendants of Japheth. Post a remark about it and, if you can, share the video. I'll see you soon.